What's up everybody, Matt Moran here for another car review. This is the 2023 Hyundai Palisade. So for 2023, the Palisade gets a refresh here, and this is the top calligraphy trim we're looking at as well. But as far as the changes for all Palisades for 2023, you can see up front here, they get some new daytime running lights, new headlight arrangement there. You also have a bolder grille, and this one has the nice satin chrome appearance being the calligraphy as well, and just looks really sharp up front there. The bumpers are new as well. And I also love this robust emerald color that is exclusive to the calligraphy trim here, but it is such a nice, very metallic green paint and just really, shines in the sun. Looks so nice. Coming down to the sides, you also see some new 20-inch wheel designs here for the calligraphy trim, and of course the wheel designs are also changed for lower versions of the Palisade that have smaller wheels, but these ones in particular look really nice. Otherwise, going out back there, the changes are a little more minute. So you have a new rear bumper there, but the taillights are the same and everything else otherwise in the back looks basically the same. But again, I didn't think they needed to change much. I mean, the Palisade is still one of the top sellers in its segment. I see these things everywhere. They've been a huge hit, and so I certainly don't blame Hyundai for wanting to tweak too much, but I think the changes they did make just really make this look really nice and modernize it a little bit. There's also a new XRT trim you can get now for the Palisade for 2023, which gives you slightly more rugged looks, but no real off-road benefits. But it is a cool look for, the growing trend of having these rugged looking SUVs, and so a nice extra option here if you're interested for 2023. All right, so let's start up and go for a drive. The Palisade here still has the same key they've used for a few years now. It's really nice though. It has some satin finishes here on the front and a little bit of like a metal plated plastic here. And it's actually a really nice and high quality key for a mainstream automaker here. You have the buttons there for Smart Park on the back and all that. And not too thick either. So it's actually a really nice key. I love these new Hyundai keys. But of course it is keyless access, keyless entry, and push button start. You also can now use your phone as the key if you'd like here as well. But anyway, you just leave the key in your pocket, hit the engine start button, and it starts right up. And if you're curious to hear about the interior in the 2023 Palisade, my wife and I just did a full in-depth interior review on this vehicle, so I'll link that above. You can go watch that if you want to hear all our thoughts on this interior. But overall, if you're familiar with the Palisade interior, there are some key improvements here for 2023. So the screen has the new setup on it here with all the new Hyundai graphics and stuff that look really nice. You also now get this screen as standard, by the way, in any trim. Digital gauges are still something that you don't get on the base trim, but on SEL Premium and up, you get these gauges now. And you have this little new touchscreen here for your climate controls down below. And the dashboard and everything has been restyled the way they configured everything. And there's a lot of other little small changes, but those are the main ones for those that are curious. But yeah, definitely check out that video for all the details on every little nook and cranny of this interior, how the space is for all three rows, all that kind of stuff we cover in that video. All right, so setting off here in the 2023 Palisade. So the first thing you'll notice about it, well, again, very familiar if you're used to any other Palisade or any other large three-row crossover, honestly, where you have a nice high sitting position, very good view of the road, great visibility all around you here. They did a really good job of keeping the dashboard nice and low in these, so you have a really good view. And the view's actually gotten better here for 2023 because now you have the optional camera rear view mirror here. And so if you have, the back loaded up with a bunch of people or things, you can flip that on, and then you'll have an unobstructed view of everything behind you. It's got a ton of standard safety equipment and some other stuff that's optional, like the surround view monitor and things like that, but very easy to drive. And one thing that always impressed me about the Palisade here is just how soft and smooth the ride is. Hyundai really nailed the target demographic for this vehicle. People just want something comfy to cruise around in. They don't really care about it being sporty typically. They don't care about, any of that stuff. They just want something that's comfortable and just enjoyable to just loaf around in and run your errands in. And that's what this does. It's so soft and comfortable. It's one of the softest riding SUVs in its segment. It's also nice and quiet. They've also added some sound deadening here for 2023, so there's a little bit extra sound deadening in the doors. There's also the rear glass is now laminated, so that adds a little bit of extra sound deadening to this vehicle. But honestly, I had no real complaints with the sound deadening in the Palisade previously, and so, that should just make it even quieter and more refined in here and further add to the luxurious feel you get, especially in these upper trims of the Palisade. It really does feel like, a full-blown luxury vehicle. And, the engine's nice and quiet here. And everything is also very natural with the way that it feels. The steering has a nice bit of heft to it, but it's not overly heavy, not too light either. It's just right, in my opinion. Throttle response is nice and natural. brakes feel nice and easy to use, very progressive, not tricky to be smooth with or anything like that. And so overall, it's just a vehicle you can hop in even in the first test drive and feel comfortable and relaxed, and it just feels easy to drive in every way. And I think that's one of the things I really love about the Palisade. But I'm going to go ahead and put it up into the sport mode that it has, and with these new seats you get here for 2023, they have these adjustable bolsters that hug you in tighter in sport mode, which is a very fun effect, and also fun if you just need a hug, you can put that on and it'll give you a little squeeze. But anyway, let's turn on to this back road here and see how it does. Here we go. Nice and responsive. The transmission wasn't waiting around to figure out what I wanted to do. I stomped on it. It went immediately. Gives you nice, strong, predictable power. Nothing weird going on here. It's just a traditional V6 engine. It's a 3.8 liter V6. It's mechanically unchanged from the pre-refresh Palisade. So if you're already familiar with that, mechanically these are all the same underneath. But anyway, it does 291 horsepower, 262 pound-feet of torque. It's going to do about a 7 seconds 0 to 60 times. So, right in line with all the other competitors, and it just does a really good job of giving you ample power, for all of your normal family, daily driving kind of commuting needs. And this road also, I have to note, is really rough. They just did the tar and chip stuff on this road, and so a lot of extra road noise here. But even with this road being so rough, still nice and smooth and pretty quiet, all things considered. And the engine is still in sport mode here, even even it's sitting at 2,500 RPMs or so. It's not loud. It's very just refined, and just everything just has a nice layer of polish here in the Palisade. But we're coming up some corners I always take here, and let's see how the Palisade handles. So this one's going to be one of the better handling ones, having the 20-inch wheels, so a little bit less sidewall on the tires than what you're going to get with some of the smaller wheels. But it handles itself very well. I mean, again, no one cares about these things feeling like sports cars or anything. And what I'll say is that you don't really feel too much out of the steering. Like I said, the weighting is nice, but you can't really tell too much what the front wheels are doing. But honestly, body roll is nice and controlled. It feels, not too heavy, considering these do weigh 4,450 pounds. I mean, it feels substantial and weighty. It's a big three-row crossover, and you certainly feel that way when you're pushing it around a corner. But, it's still very confident and reassuring, and, can keep up with you pretty good. So this one I'm driving does have all-wheel drive. You can get these with front-wheel drive if you want, but with the all-wheel drive, puts the power down very nicely. And, again, it's just the Goldilocks kind of setup that Hyundai has here with these, where it's just nice and smooth, not trying to be too sporty, not trying to be too soft either though, and just a nice blend. And just the way they set these up is just so good. One note though about this 8-speed automatic that this Palisade runs is that it does like to hold gears going down hills a little more so than some other vehicles, and it's fairly aggressive, where it almost resists coasting a bit, where it really wants to almost like hold you at the speed you're at whenever you're coasting down hills, instead of just letting it kind of freewheel down the hill. So I kind of wish that it would do a little bit more coasting as far as that goes. But and there are some times where I just feel like it holds onto a gear a little longer than I would like, but I'm truly nitpicking here. Most of the time the 8-speed automatic just blends into the background and you don't even really notice it working. But now we're out on the highway here in the Palisade. I have the highway drive assist on, which is actually standard here to have the highway drive assist. So that gives you adaptive cruise control, gives you the lane keeping assist, and a bunch of other stuff. This has a ton of great standard safety tech, automatic emergency braking, your rear automatic collision avoidance, and low parking speed situations. It has all that kind of stuff. And so anyway, one great thing too with these higher trims is it really does a good job of displaying all the information with the head-up display you have here, as far as all your safety info and showing you your blind spot. Also, whenever you get the digital gauge cluster, you also get the blind view monitor, which will give you a little picture here in the gauge cluster of what is in your blind spot. So I mean, they really have you covered with every single possible thing, and some cool stuff like that blind view monitor that no one else even offers. And so cruising here on the highway though, still nice and quiet and smooth and comfortable. And also one thing to note, if you're doing long highway drives in your Palisade, these new Ergo Motion seats will actually adjust minutely whenever you're on a road trip to help with back comfort, to on longer drives kind of invigorate your back a little bit, so that it doesn't have the same sore spots, and really does a cool thing there with trying to keep you a little more comfortable. But we're going around this corner here now. I'm letting it do the steering here for me, and it's pretty good so far. So highway drive assist has been pretty hit or miss in my experience in past Hyundai, Kia, and even Genesis products. And in this, so far it's doing okay, but a lot of times it's not super confident with its steering. It likes to pogo back and forth a little bit. We'll see how this one does, but I've had to be a little bit extra cautious and on guard a little bit more here with the steering assistance with this system versus some of the competitors. But this one so far is doing a really good job. So I will be taking this on a couple of longer highway drives here this week, and so I will continue to test out the highway drive assist and report back on how it is working here in 2023 Hyundais. But overall, so far, no complaints, and it is nice to have that extra steering assistance. It isn't hands-free or anything like that, but it certainly does, take a little bit of the fatigue out of long drives by giving you a little bit of that extra assistance with those micro corrections out here on the highway, and it is really nice to have. Also, other safety features, now you get standard side airbags in the second row. So previously, there's the side curtain airbags already, but now you have side, I believe, seat-based airbags there for those second row seats as well. So a little bit of extra safety back there as well, if all the safety technology ends up failing you, or you just can't avoid it. It's nice that you have some extra actual safety features like the airbags and stuff as well. So overall though, yeah, just a really nice thing to cruise around in. But thanks to Hyundai, I will have the Palisade here for an entire week, so I'm going to drive around all over the place, and I'll come back and give you guys my final real world fuel economy, as well as my thoughts on the pricing, how this compares to its competition, and anything else that I noticed here during my week of driving. Alright, so I've been driving the Palisade here for a week now, and I've put about 125 miles on it here, and it's a really nice companion. I mean, again, it's still the same mechanically as the previous Palisade, so it's not like there's going to be kind of, big revelation here or anything. But one thing is I did get to do a longer highway drive in this than I have done in past Palisades, and so I was able to test out the highway drive assist a little bit more. And I will say that in this, it certainly seemed to behave a little bit better than it has in past Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis products that I've tested it in. It's still pogoed a little bit. I still wouldn't consider it one of the top systems out there, but I'd say it's certainly acceptable now, and it didn't freak me out like past systems have, where some of them would let me just go onto the shoulder and didn't do any kind of correction, or it was really jerky with the way that it did the steering assist. This seems to be smoother and a little bit more reliable with keeping track of the road lines and things like that as well. So I'm, cautiously optimistic that the system is getting better, and they've been improving it a little bit here, hopefully. And other observations here though with my week of this thing is just it's a really nice thing to cruise around in. It's very comfortable, but one other little thing that I noticed was that every once in a while it's a little tricky to be smooth with the throttle, and even halfway through the week there was a couple of times where I'd be starting off from a stop and it would give me a jumpier acceleration than I was expecting. So I don't know if it's maybe just the fact that sometimes this thing will start you in first, other times it maybe starts in second, or what. So I never knew quite what to expect sometimes with the acceleration. Again, that could just be something you learn and get used to, and the transmission learns your behavior, and it gets a little more predictable. I'm hoping, because I never had any complaints about that with the other Palisades or Tellurides that I've driven around. So I'm not sure why, but it just was a little trickier to be smooth with this one. So just test drive one for sure, and see what you think whenever you're driving it around. One other thing too though, from a convenience standpoint, that I didn't love during my week here with the Palisade is the fact that there is no wireless Apple CarPlay or wireless Android Auto. And again, first world problems, you got to plug your phone in. I get it. But, when basically every competitor these days does have wireless smartphone integration, or at least the best competitors out there do, that's really the one little kink in the armor of the Palisade and the Telluride now. Now, supposedly there's aftermarket workarounds, so you can have wireless CarPlay, but it's just strange that, Hyundai and Kia still haven't fixed that. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it's been a couple of years now we've had wireless CarPlay in a lot of the other competitors, and it's just absent here in this and in every single other Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis product that has this big screen. Another thing to mention here is my fuel economy over the week with the Palisade. So since I did do more highway driving this time than typical, I actually got a little bit better fuel economy than I typically do. So these are rated at 19 mpg in the city, 25 on the highway, and 21 combined. And so in my driving here, 127.5 miles now, my rating has been 19.8 mpg. And so that's not bad. I mean, that's still, I basically did the combined, I'd say about 65 of those miles were on the highway. So pretty much a 50-50 split. I was hoping to maybe get that combined, 21 figure, especially since I was using cruise control on the highway and I was taking it easy for the most part. So I'm 1 mpg under that. Not a big deal, and typically I do get 1 to 2 mpg less than the city rating in my around town driving. Anyway, still, to be getting basically 20 mpg in this, I think is totally acceptable, very much par for the course in this segment, and no complaints there as far as that goes. And then the last thing to mention here is the pricing and how it compares to its competition. So this fully loaded calligraphy trim is right around $52,000, and obviously Palisades start around 36 or so, I think, and they do come very well equipped, and even for 2023 here, you get more standard features and more of the nicer features that are brought down to lower trims now. So previously you had to go for like the top 2 trims if you wanted to get these digital gauges, for example. Now they are brought down 1 trim further to the SEL Premium. So it's nice that, you make that a little bit more affordable now to get into some of that stuff. But, the Palisade just still retains this really strong value proposition because it is, even in this fully loaded version, a couple grand less than some of the other competitors. And, some of the other competitors don't have some of the stuff this does. Like, I don't think any of them have a heated third row. Most of them don't have a cooled second row like this does. They don't have Napa leather. They don't have screens as big as this. There's a lot of advantages of this. The space also is a very important thing to note, that you have more space in this than you do in a lot of the other competitors. They were very smart with the packaging here with the Palisade and the Telluride, and I think that's one of the reasons that, combined with the value, are the top 2 reasons why these are selling so hot. And they're everywhere, at least in my area. In my neighborhood alone, there's several of them, right around the corner from me, and I see them, all the time. It's one of the most common vehicles on the road, honestly, in my area around here. And so I think there's a good reason for that, and they're very, very popular. And I'm glad that Hyundai has been able to keep up with demand for these as well pretty well over the past couple of years here, that they are so plentiful out on the roads. And so, I'm not going to go into all of the competitors. There's tons of them out there these days, but typically, I just have to say that in most cases, this is going to be one of the top ones in my opinion. This and the Telluride, which again is mechanically identical basically underneath. The Telluride gives you the more rugged styling, a little bit of a different interior design, things like that, but also doesn't have the wireless smartphone integration. But the Telluride's another, if you want, a little bit of the same flavor driving-wise and as far as packaging and feature content goes, but you want a different look, the Telluride is a really great option as well, which also got a little bit of a refresh here for 2023. And, we'll see. There's some brand new competitors coming, like the brand new Honda Pilot coming later, this year, and some other stuff as well. So, we'll see, how those newest competitors compare to this. But as of the time of me filming this here in the fall of 2022, I gotta say the Palisade still retains its crown, in my opinion, as one of the nicest driving, smoothest riding, best value, best feature content, three-row crossovers out there. And then to add the cherry on top, you have a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty here with these, which really gives you peace of mind as far as the reliability and the fact the manufacturer is standing behind that for a long time, and not just for a handful of years like most of the other competitors out there. And one thing too regarding reliability, I do have to say that there was one time where I pulled up at a stop sign, and it was one of these instances where someone waved me on, so I quickly had to abruptly accelerate, and the car had just turned off like a millisecond before I went back onto the gas to try and do this acceleration. And so it was like a half stop and then a restart, which threw it for a loop and started a misfire actually. So it was running a little rough there for a split second. It turned on the check engine light. I pulled over, turned the car off, turned it back on, and it was fine. The check engine light went away immediately and everything was fine. It was running totally normally and stuff. So I'm guessing that stop start just threw it off a tiny little bit. But if you find yourself not stopping very long most of the time, just turn off the start stop. There's a nice big easy button here to press. Unfortunately, you do have to press it every time you get into the vehicle, but I was just a little surprised that a start stop system would be allowed to throw a vehicle for a loop like it did with this. So not sure what that's about, but just wanted to be honest and open with you guys about I did have that little thing, but it was very minor and resolved itself within about 30 seconds there. So not a big deal, but anyway, that's all of my thoughts here on the 2023 Palisade. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Huge thanks to Hyundai for providing me here with the Palisade to review for you guys today. And yeah, thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.